On the morning of the State of the Union address, on the day the president was scheduled to walk into the House chamber and make his case for the second year of his second term, a national public radio newsroom published one of the most consequential pieces of investigative journalism in this entire story. NPR found that the Justice Department has withheld, and in some cases actively removed, dozens of pages of FBI interview documents from the public Epstein Files database. The documents that are missing, and NPR verified this using 3 independent sets of serial numbers stamped on the files themselves, relate specifically to accusers who also made allegations about President Donald Trump. The Justice Department declined to answer NPR's questions about what is in those files, why they are not published, and on whose authority they were removed. That was on Tuesday morning. By Tuesday afternoon, the ranking Democrat on the House Oversight Committee had reviewed the unredacted evidence logs inside the Department of Justice, and he said what he found there was, in his words, the most serious possible crime in this White House cover-up. Here's what you need to know. The investigation that NPR's Stephen Fowler conducted began with a discrepancy. When the Justice Department published millions of pages of Epstein files under the Epstein Files Transparency Act, the bipartisan law that Trump initially opposed and then signed under pressure from his own party, NPR began reviewing not just the documents themselves, but the indexing systems that track them: FBI case file logs, discovery document lists from the Maxwell criminal trial, evidence tracking sheets. And what NPR found when it cross-referenced those systems against what was actually in the public database was a gap, a documented, cataloged gap in the specific files relating to 2 women who accused Trump of sexual misconduct. Here is what NPR established about the first woman. She made allegations of sexual assault against Trump when she was a minor. The FBI took the allegations seriously enough that they investigated it formally. FBI records show agents interviewed her 4 times. The dates of those interviews, their serial numbers, their content summaries, all of it exists in the FBI's own case file logs, which were released under the Epstein Files Transparency Act. Only one of those interviews, the first one, conducted July 24th, 2019, is in the public database. And that one interview, the only one made public, does not mention Trump. NPR found that of 15 documents listed in the Maxwell criminal trial's discovery log for this first accuser, only 7 are in the public Epstein Files database. According to NPR's review of 3 different sets of serial numbers stamped onto the files, there appear to be 53 pages of interview documents and notes missing from the public database. NPR notes the discrepancy was first identified by independent journalist Roger Sollenberger. The second woman's case is different in nature, but similarly significant. She was a key prosecution witness in the criminal trial of Ghislaine Maxwell, who is currently serving a 20-year federal prison sentence for sex trafficking. The first of 6 FBI interviews this woman gave, conducted between September 2019 and September 2021, described how abuse by Epstein and Maxwell began when she was approximately 13 years old, while she was attending the Interlochen Center for the Arts. She told the FBI that at one point, Epstein took her to Trump's Mar-a-Lago club to meet him. The interview report reads, Epstein told Trump, "This is a good one, huh?" In a 2020 civil lawsuit against Epstein's estate and Maxwell, she added that both men chuckled and that she felt uncomfortable, but was too young at the time to understand why. That interview was briefly published in the DOJ's public database after the January 30th document release. Then it was removed. NPR's comparison of the initial data set against the current database confirmed the removal. NPR contacted the Justice Department for comment about the specific files, what is in them, and why they are not published. The Justice Department declined to answer those questions on the record. After NPR published its findings, DOJ spokeswoman Natalie Baldessari told NPR that any documents not published are either privileged, duplicates, or relate to an ongoing federal investigation. She did not specify which of those categories applied to the missing 53 pages. She did not explain why an interview that was briefly published and then removed from the database would qualify as privileged or a duplicate. That answer matters because of what Attorney General Pam Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche had already told Congress. Earlier this month, Bondi and Blanche sent a letter to Congress stating formally that no records had been withheld or redacted. And I am quoting directly from that letter, on the basis of embarrassment, reputational harm, or political sensitivity, including to any government official, public figure, or foreign dignitary. That was their formal representation to Congress. NPR's investigation and Rep. Robert Garcia's review of unredacted DOJ evidence logs now directly conflicts with it. Garcia is the ranking Democrat on the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. On Monday, he went to the Justice Department and reviewed unredacted evidence logs in person. On Tuesday, he issued a formal statement. For the last few weeks, Oversight Democrats have been investigating the FBI's handling of allegations from 2019 of sexual assault on a minor made against President Donald Trump by a survivor. He said, "Yesterday, I reviewed unredacted evidence logs at the Department of Justice. Oversight Democrats can confirm that the DOJ appears to have illegally withheld FBI interviews with this survivor who accused President Trump of heinous crimes." He invoked both the committee's existing subpoena to Attorney General Bondi for all Epstein files and the Epstein Files Transparency Act itself, saying those legal instruments require the records to be shared immediately. He also announced that Oversight Democrats are opening what he described as a parallel investigation. Covering up direct evidence of a potential assault by the President of the United States, Garcia said, is the most serious possible crime in this White House cover-up. There are things that need to be said clearly here as a matter of journalism. Trump has never been criminally charged in connection with any allegation from an Epstein-related accuser. These are allegations, unverified claims that were investigated by the FBI that exist in official federal records, and that the government is now accused by a sitting congressman of deliberately hiding from the public database it was legally required to make transparent. What Garcia is alleging is not that Trump committed a crime. What Garcia is alleging is that the Department of Justice, which Trump controls through his Attorney General, withheld the evidence about those allegations from public view in violation of a law and a congressional subpoena. That is a different and very specific legal claim about DOJ conduct, and it is one the DOJ has not answered. The White House did respond to NPR. Spokeswoman Abigail Jackson said Trump has done more for Epstein's victims than anyone before him. She added, just as President Trump has said, he's been totally exonerated on anything relating to Epstein. Trump himself said last week, when asked about these files in connection with the arrest of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, that the Epstein files had totally exonerated him. That word is his, not the Justice Department's, not a court's, not a prosecutor's, his. Now, for our viewers in the United Kingdom and Canada, there is a second major development in this story that landed on the same day. On Monday afternoon in London, plainclothes Metropolitan Police officers arrived at a home in the Camden area of North London. They led a 72-year-old man to a waiting car. The man, identifiable in video broadcast on Sky News, was Peter Mandelson, one of the most powerful and influential figures in modern British political history. He was arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office. He was taken to a London police station for questioning. At 2 in the morning on Tuesday, the Metropolitan Police confirmed he had been released on bail pending further investigation. Mandelson is a towering figure in British politics. Central to Tony Blair's 1997 landslide, a former European commissioner and Britain's most recent ambassador to the United States, a posting from which Starmer fired him in September 2025 when initial Epstein revelations emerged. When more damaging emails appeared in the January 2026 file releases, he resigned from Labour and from the House of Lords. Now he has been arrested. The allegation under investigation is that Mandelson passed confidential, market-sensitive government information to Jeffrey Epstein while he was serving as business secretary in Gordon Brown's government between 2009 and 2010. The emails that triggered this investigation, which are contained in the Epstein files, show a pattern that the Metropolitan Police found serious enough to open a criminal investigation, conduct search warrants at 2 properties, one in Camden, one in Wiltshire, and make an arrest. Those emails include what appeared to be advance notice given to Epstein about a $500 billion European Union bank bailout before it was publicly announced on May 10, 2010. They include discussion of UK government plans to impose a tax on bankers' bonuses. They include a message on May 10, 2010, in which Mandelson wrote to Epstein, "Finally got him to go today," the day Gordon Brown resigned as prime minister. And they include what appears to be a reference to a secret underground tunnel connecting 10 Downing Street with the Ministry of Defense. Starmer, who had initially backed Mandelson and then dismissed him, apologized formally to Epstein's victims, saying, "I am sorry. Sorry for what was done to you. Sorry that so many people with power failed you. Sorry for having believed Mandelson's lies and appointing him. Mandelson's arrest came 4 days after the arrest of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the former prince and the younger brother of King Charles III. Mountbatten Windsor was arrested on his 66th birthday on suspicion of the same offense, misconduct in public office, and was released under investigation, a status in British law that means he has been neither charged nor exonerated. The UK government is now actively weighing legislation to remove him from the line of royal succession. His ties to the royal family have been described by legal analysts as, in the words of Hull University professor John Tosh, all but decimated. Darren Jones, chief secretary to the Prime Minister, told the House of Commons on Monday that correspondence between Mandelson and Downing Street would be delayed due to Metropolitan Police interest. Misconduct in public office is a common law offense under English law with no statute of limitations. It requires proof of serious, willful abuse of the responsibilities of public office, committed deliberately or with reckless indifference. Both Mandelson and Mountbatten Windsor deny wrongdoing. Here is what all of this adds up to on this particular day. The President of the United States delivered his State of the Union address on Tuesday night. And on the morning of that address, NPR published an investigation finding that his Justice Department withheld 53 pages of FBI interview documents from the public Epstein database, specifically those involving an accuser who also made allegations about the president. The department that oversees the Epstein files is run by his Attorney General. The Attorney General told Congress no records were withheld for political sensitivity. The ranking member of the House Oversight Committee went to the DOJ, reviewed the evidence logs in person, and says that is not true. And across the Atlantic, the former British ambassador to the United States was arrested, led from his home in handcuffs by plainclothes officers, and released on bail in connection with the same set of documents. The story of the Epstein files is not over. Stay with us.